Welcome to the Iacocca Institute Leadership Dialogues. I'm Scott Koerwer, and I'll be hosting today. We've got Dr. Ryan Grant, CEO and founder of Vori Health, and I should also say a serial entrepreneur. Ryan, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. So your leadership journey is quite impressive. You've been a neurosurgeon, you are a serial entrepreneur, and now you're leading Vori Health, a rather disruptive organization in the health industry. I'm sure that our listeners today would like to know some of the leadership foundations or principles that help you run these companies, but also what helped inspire you to build a company like Vori Health?
Yeah, it gets down to being your authentic self. So what are your personal values that really make you tick? So I've always been inspired by giving back, helping people. That's one of the things that drove me to medicine, of just that Hippocratic oath of helping somebody through a really difficult time in their life, heal. And so that's sort of that healing and giving back. Lots of my leadership principles are also then based in humanity, in terms of servant leadership, in terms of also, how do I make myself obsolete? And how do you really make yourself think about that? Obsolete in your role because you've empowered your team so well. And how do you reach your own plateau and keep growing? And because it's really not about you. And your time in any role is limited. You're sort of borrowing that seat. And then when you get up every day, why do you deserve to be in it? Are you showing up as your best self? Who are your constituents, your stakeholders? Who do you have this pleasure of serving? So whether that be patients, customers, clients, your team, your family, like this world is much bigger than yourself. And then it comes into really value creation of how do you give back more than you extract from society? And so thinking about the world less about it as a finite pie that you have to divide infinite ways. How do you make the pie bigger so that everybody can prosper? And just think differently. Additional things that I think about is a healthy disrespect for the status quo. Everything that exists in society at one point didn't. It was invented or discovered, and several of those things have pulled the human race forward. Several things have pulled it backwards. What today should no longer exist because it just doesn't drive value anymore. It did at one point, and an example being VHS. VHS served a purpose. In 2025, VHS doesn't really have a purpose anymore. Blockbuster had its purpose. Doesn't really have a purpose anymore. People don't rent movies that way, but it doesn't mean it didn't drive value for its time. So how do you continuously disrupt not only the things you're working on, but recognizing that things have a finite shelf life? And also your own leadership has to continue to evolve. AI is being infused. People expect different things in this new generation than they did in 1940. And so how do you evolve as a person as well?
Ryan, what were you solving for when you decided to create Vori Health? What was the problem? What were you taking on? What did you need to disrupt?
Yeah, so Vori is a nationwide 50-state medical practice. We are disrupting the orthopedic musculoskeletal sector. My formal training in neurosurgery was heavily spine, complex spine, and so this is also a vertical that I know pretty well. And the average person with low back pain in the United States gets the wrong care. It's been estimated in Harvard Business Review, prominent medical journals, including The Lancet and some others, that at least 50% of the spine surgeries, lower back surgeries done in the United States are inappropriate. That's pretty high. So as everybody listening here right now, think about how many people are currently under anesthesia who shouldn't be there, getting cut open inappropriately. Is that really the foundations of medicine that we want to be? It's estimated that up to 30 to 40% of knee surgeries are inappropriate. Similar statistics for shoulder surgery. Now, nobody's trying to be malicious. The system has evolved over many, many, many decades, and you can trace this back to the war. But at the end of the day, going back to my own values of do the right thing and humanity, are we doing the right thing? Are we practicing evidence-based medicine? These are people's loved ones. These are somebody's parents, grandparents, spouse, aunts, uncles, friends, colleagues, and making sure they're getting the best care. And making sure surgery is an absolute last resort, so, which is not in the traditional sector. So we wanted to build a new care model that infused evidence-based medicine, and that's truly patient-centric. Everybody says they're patient-centric, but I've rarely experienced that. It's usually system-centric, physician-centric, payer-centric, and we've all been exposed to living in that type of traditional world. So when somebody comes to us, we first give them the right care team. We do not believe that orthopedics at large is the right specialty to take care of orthopedics. That sounds crazy at first, but the country's lost track that orthopedics is short for orthopedic surgery. Cardiothoracic surgery is not the right specialty to take care of cardiology. I'm a surgeon. I'm not anti-surgery. I'm just anti-inappropriate surgery. Us surgeons have our place, but we are pulled way too far upstream in the current paradigm. And so if you send somebody to a surgeon first, you're going to have more surgery. And I'll be the first to admit, as a board-certified spine surgeon, I don't have any formal training in non-operative conservative care. I'm actually not the right first expert unless it's going to be surgical. So we employ the cardiology equivalent. These are board-certified physicians. They're known as physical medicine rehabilitation. They're also known as physiatry, not to be confused with psychiatry, physiatry. Rehabilitation physicians. We also employ non-operative sports medicine physicians. So now you have the right non-operative focused physician. We then had to break down the next thing. Physicians and physical therapists don't talk to each other at large in the real world, even if you co-locate them. Medicine traditionally is practiced as a silo. Everybody refer. And even if you co-locate clinicians, it's like Sbarro Pizza and Starbucks in that airport food court. They're looking at each other, but they're not really doing medicine together. So for our complex patients, the patients will see a physician who will render a medical diagnosis, and then a physical therapist at the same time who will render a functional diagnosis. So they do the exam together. It's 2 clinicians to 1. It's evidence-based, biopsychosocial, and it's not just focused on back pain. So if Nancy comes into us with 10 out of 10 back pain, one, we'll rule out, does she make sure she doesn't have cancer or anything bad? We'll do an exam, but then it shifts to what matters to Nancy? Instead of what's the matter with Nancy, what matters to Nancy? Flip that paradigm on its head.
Yes.
And you learn that the most important thing to Nancy is walking her son Tommy to school. That's what gives her joy. But she feels she can't, her care plan is literally walking my son Tommy to school. Her secondary endpoint is getting back pain better, making sure she sleeps well, stress, and we may or may not pull into a health coach or nutritionist, dietitian, depending on the other comorbidities. Then the next part actually goes deeper into a motivational interview to understand her fear. One of the number 1 predictors of conversion to chronic pain is fear. No one's going to tell you they're scared. And it sounds crazy at first, but this is all also evidence-based. One of the fastest ways that the brain actually makes memories is fear processing. The most extreme version of that is PTSD, the war, something traumatic happens.
Yes.
Or all of us can think of an ex that we no longer date that you don't like. And if you smell their cologne or their perfume, it triggers you back. If you got sick in a restaurant and that was every time you smell something that smells like that, you might get nauseous. Your brain's very good at taking fear or traumatic responses and burning a memory in real time. That same thing happens in our daily life. We all run a narrative. So if Nancy, as you interview her, at bedtime when she falls asleep, she's wondering, is she going to end up in a wheelchair like her grandfather, lose her job, and never take care of Tommy again? If she has a very strong fear monologue, her chance of converting to chronic pain is ultra high. So you have to then understand, is that true or not? Walk Nancy through that. And we wanted to make sure we could solve that. You have to teach people where pain comes from. Otherwise, if they have resources, they will doctor shop until they hear what they want to hear. People are very good at confirmation bias. And then you have to teach people some of, for lack of a better word, the fake news out there. Imaging is rarely diagnostic in the sector. People think you need an image to look for the cause of pain, but that goes against almost all of the evidence.
Yes.
Imaging has its purpose to look for cancer, infection, why someone's going paralyzed, but most of these are mechanical issues. And if your car's engine was squeaking today, you wouldn't pop the hood, take a picture of the engine and email it to your mechanic saying, hey, can you tell me why it's squeaking? And they would want to see it, examine it, diagnose it, and just teaching people that if you're over 30, we're going to find arthritis everywhere because that's what being human is.
Right.
And every adult next year will have more gray hair, more wrinkles, and more arthritis, not because anything's wrong with them. That's just what being a human is.
Yeah, yeah. So Ryan, at some point, and I appreciate that you've been on the faculty at multiple institutions and you're also a teacher at heart, but at some point you became interested in the business of health and you went on to get a Master's of Business Administration as well as your medical doctorate. What inspired you? What turned you on to the business of care? Was it finding better solutions for your patients, or was there something with your entrepreneurial drive that took you down that path?
It's a great question. At the heart of it is the word doctor means teacher. But always just like learning. Curious. I would say curiosity is that. Putting multiple disciplines together are very powerful. If you want to bring change, you must understand the flow of money. And people don't really like to talk about money. It's a bit taboo.
Yes.
But you have to. The way I think about money, like in a business, is it's oxygen. The purpose of life is not oxygen, but with no oxygen, there is no life.
Right.
Money is a business's oxygen. You have to think about it. It can't be your number one priority. But if you don't think about it, that's a mistake. You need to understand how it works. You need to be financially disciplined, both in your own life and business, because that is the resources that allow you to bring change. That's how you pay people salary. That's what allows you, if you have a surplus, to donate care and give away services for free. Money is the oxygen, so you must be able to understand how it works. And unfortunately, medical schools and just health systems in general, we don't teach physicians, nurses, PAs, the whole gamut about any of that.
Yes.
And it's not that the average physician is naive to how business works, not because they're not smart. They are never taught it.
Yes.
Now that's starting to change a bit, where more and more places have realized that knowledge is power, and understanding how you actually get reimbursed, how the money flows, also allows you to better understand how you can better affect change. Because there's lots of great ideas out there. But if there's no way to reimburse it, it will never go anywhere.
Yes.
If there's no way to pay for it, how are you going to pay people to join you? There's no funds. So in order to get resources, you have to understand where the resources come from, how to obtain them. Again, how do you get more oxygen? And then just as I said earlier, curiosity. I think entrepreneurship is a mindset of wanting to be curious, asking why do we do things this way? Is there a better way? There's always a better way. Mm-hmm. And every day we experience problems that make us crazy. Is that problem bother you enough to do something about it? Because if it's a problem for you, is it a problem for millions of other people?
Yes.
You already have an idea that can potentially scale and help solve problems. Because at the end of the day, a business is just an enterprise that offers a solution to a problem. That's what you're trying to do. If you're not offering a solution that people want, you don't have a business.
Yeah. Your self-professed healthy skepticism of the status quo seems to be, in my observation, a driving force for some of the challenges that you've decided to take on in your entrepreneurial life. How do you find the team members that you surround yourself with to keep pace with that healthy skepticism? And speed is something that you and I have talked about for the entirety of our relationship. You go right toward problems. Leaders run toward problems is what we tell our audiences. How do you find the team members to go with you?
Yeah, it's having that magnet for talent is something you really have to take a step back at and understand what you are good at and what you are bad at. You are not good at everything, nor should you be. Jack of all trades, master of none. So what are your own deficits? Are you really good being a visionary? Steve Jobs at Apple Computer didn't know anything about how to build a computer. But he had a co-founder who did. Co-founder didn't know how to scale, vision, build it, be the business side. So when you first start in a company, you need at least two types of roles. You need the inventor. The inventor usually doesn't know how to scale or drive a business. And the business person usually is not the inventor. They can be, but you at least need those two roles accounted for. So Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs. Steve Wozniak was the inventor. Steve Jobs was the entrepreneur to actually take that to market. How do you reach people? What's the unmet need? And you sort of need both to complement one another. And so it's taking a step back for people to ask, really self-reflect on what is your own strength and where do you need to supplement your weaknesses?
Yes.
But then also making sure that you bring diverse voices into the room. You want contrarians who are not just contrarian to be contrarian, but will help you see blind spots and will help challenge you. Does that idea really make sense? Let's pressure test it. You're not looking for people to agree with you. You're looking for people to bring other viewpoints who will align to a mission. So you're looking for people who people who join a startup are not in it for the liquid cash because their salary is going to be lower than they could find elsewhere.
Right.
Now, if the company takes off, they can build all sorts of wealth for their ownership in the company called equity, but they're joining it for a higher purpose, a mission, and something that inspires them to try to change the world. Because the world doesn't change because there's consensus being made. Somebody decides today and tomorrow that they're going to do something about it, and they go do it. And then assembling that team who can help execute on that mission, because you're only as good as the team. And so making sure that you're ultra clear on what you're looking for. So I look for folks who are always optimistic. They have a healthy dose of skepticism, but they are fueled by optimism. You don't want the negative Nancys. I call them the energy vampires. We've all dealt with them.
Right.
They suck all your energy. They make your day terrible.
Yep.
They might not mean to, but I can't surround myself with energy vampires. They drain my own energy. So energy is infectious. So you want other people who have infectious energy, are lean towards the optimism side, crazy enough to join a startup, but really are bonded by that North Star. Then do they have the objective skill sets to actually accomplish what you're trying to do? And are they a cultural multiplier?
Mm-hmm. Very good. Many of our viewers will undoubtedly be early in their professional lives, and if you think about advice or counsel that you would give them as they prepare for a future of work, a preparation of being part of organizational life, and investing ideally in something bigger than them. I very much appreciate your statement about giving value back rather than extracting more value than you give. What counsel do you have for young aspiring leaders as they prepare? What might they do to ready themselves?
Yeah. Learn as much as possible, always be learning. Read, be open to different perspectives, be curious. People tend to just close their mind and get stuck in their ways. But one of the big things I would say is recognize that everybody has an opinion. Every single human being will have an opinion if you ask them a question. So who you take opinions from as gospel, you should caution yourself. You can always be professional, but if you want to be an astronaut, you should go talk to an astronaut about that path. Talking to a college counselor about what it's like to be an astronaut is not that helpful doesn't mean that they're trying to help you. But if you really want to know, go talk to an astronaut. You want to be a lawyer? Go talk and spend time with lawyers.
Yeah.
And so you'll go through you'll meet all sorts of doctors. You'll meet at your school. You'll meet PhDs. You'll meet masters. All very accomplished people in their field. And if you ask them a question outside of what they're an expert in, it's just an opinion. So just because they have 10 degrees doesn't mean what they tell you makes any sense. And it doesn't mean it actually holds any water. So be judicious on where you actually gather data points from. You want to be a general in the Army? Go spend time with the Army and the military. Make sure that you actually gather advice from the right people. And you can also learn from people, even if it's not their field, about why they think that way. But people I find tend to, particularly when they're younger, and I did this, a person of authority who's further along in a career gives you an opinion, and you take that as gospel, when it really might just be an opinion, and they don't actually know what they're talking about.
Right.
So just be very cautious, even throughout your whole life, about who are you taking advice from. Look for people smarter than you. You don't want to be the smartest in the room. How are you going to learn? Be the dumbest in the room. Because people tend to move up and become an amalgamation of the people they surround themselves with. So if the main people you surround yourself with are all smarter than you, you're going to get smarter.
Yes.
If the people you surround yourself are less smart than you can go from there. So be comfortable not being the smartest person in the room. You don't want to be the smartest person in the room.
Right.
If you are the smartest person in the room, then you have the wrong team.
Ryan, lessons learned. Many leaders can reflect back on moments that helped make the difference in career path, in success. As you look back over the various parts of your career, was there a moment or moments that made the difference for the path that you're on, that turned you into the serial entrepreneur, that helped you decide to leave very successful practice as a neurosurgeon and become a CEO? Lessons learned.
Yeah, I think you need a strong support network. That may or may not be your parents. It might be a friend. It might be an aunt, uncle. You need a support network. You can't do this alone. It gets hard, and you will get discouraged. But hard work will pay off, and you will fail. And there'll be things that don't go your way. You won't get into the school you want to get into. You won't get the job you want. And what can you learn from those things? But making sure you have a support network who helps you keep going. Everybody has a mentor. Even the Olympians have coaches, and they're Olympians. Everybody does better with a coach. So who is your group of people that can actually tell you when you mess up, how to get back on your feet? Who is your group of people who can say, whoa, you're like way in right field.
Yes.
And you need to come back here. You're completely not seeing the dangers around the corner. Because wisdom comes from failure and people learning the hard way. And so making sure you have those right people around you, it can be a true unlock of success. So as I think back, it's making sure you spend the time with the right mentors. That might not be your boss. Your boss can actually be an adversary. You don't have to tell them that. That usually won't go well for you.
Right.
But making sure that you understand that people tend to be generous with their time, particularly if they know that you're looking for help. People tend not to ask for it, but particular people further along in their career like to give back. People further along in their careers do think about their legacy, and a lot of people do like to give back. People just tend not to ask. And so who are those mentors that you can go to, help you problem solve at the end of the day? But making sure you have the right mentors. You can't do this alone. If you try to do this alone, you will fail.
Yes, yeah. Very helpful. One more question for you. I'm impressed that you've invested in very, very demanding careers. No small feat to become a surgeon, no small feat to launch companies and be an entrepreneur. Where do you find balance? Do you have hobbies? How do you ensure your health and well-being?
No, it's a great question. I don't really believe in the work-life balance mantra. I've actually found that to make my life harder because the word balance means they're in opposition. And I prefer the concept work-life integration. Of they blend into each other. And if you become a better human at work, you become a better human at home. If you learn how to communicate better at home, you become a better communicator at work. And it's learning how to segment time with people. I'm going to spend 4 hours with my family and not be interrupted. I'm going to do this. And just being disciplined about, nope, this is dinner time, this is 2 hours. I can go back to work after this, but because at the end of the day, how do you get better at having undivided attention? There's one thing to be present physically, but are you really present? Or are you thinking about work? Are you thinking about what you're going to say? And you're really not emotionally present. The people around you will feel that.
They'll know.
They'll know. And that will strain relationships. And so it's better to be an hour with your family fully present than 5 hours not really there.
Yeah.
Because it's not authentic. And so really work-life integration. And the things that are important to you, you have to prioritize. Graduation, you're going to that graduation and nothing can stop it. If there's an emergency at the business, they'll call you, but
right.
You're going. You're showing up. Like, what are the things that are non-negotiable for you? I'm going to this holiday. Maybe I can't do all the holidays, but this one is non-negotiable. What are your non-negotiables? And put a line in the sand in it. And put some guardrails about what's important to you, what brings you happiness. We love traveling. We love exploring new cultures. We love hiking. We love the water. Walking is very powerful, not only for meditation, but solving problems. We find the water really rejuvenating, so we live close to the water. It's sort of our mental health therapy.
Yeah.
Raising dogs, we enjoy that. Being outside in nature, we like the vineyards. There's many types of things to get into. And then live music, so there's lots of things. But what is, at the end of the day, whether it's a hobby or a pastime, what do you enjoy doing? What makes you smile? What do you look forward to? Those are the things that you should find time to prioritize, because it's better to do some of those than just be a workaholic. You'll actually be more effective and efficient if you have a blend of those things. And then it's switching, but making sure that you have to practice. And I'm not perfect at this. How do you turn off the different domains to be present? So if you're with your team, are you thinking about other stuff, your next meeting, the weekend, or are you really present?
Yeah.
When you're with your family, are you really present? So it comes back to, are you really present?
Yeah, very good. Words to live by. As we close, I always like to ask executives, what are you reading? Our audiences want to know, is there anything you're reading that's noteworthy for our group today?
Yeah, there's a book called Strategic Execution out of the University of Virginia. Mm-hmm. I'm always sometimes skeptical of some of the academic books at first in terms of, will they in essence be dry reads?
Yes.
But this one actually isn't. And I thought it was powerfully done. And so just finished that. There's a new book out by McKinsey. I also was skeptical because it's written by a consulting group.
Yes.
But I'm blanking on the title, but it's about what they call the Bower Forum, BOWER, which they host for CEOs, Fortune 500s across the globe, large enterprises of problems that they're facing as leaders. And they, in essence, tried to digitize this into writing with people disclosing themselves. Like, yes. You got like the Ford CEO who discloses himself and the Delta CEO who discloses himself. Like, these are like prominent leaders of how did they learn to better lead by first starting in the inside of what are they good and bad at, what are their strengths, weaknesses, getting more emotionally intelligent about themselves, so that they could go apply those to their team and their companies. What are their own fears? What are their own vulnerabilities? And so I thought that I'm almost done with that one. That's actually pretty good. But if you just Google McKinsey, BOWER, Bauer Forum book, you'll find it. But I thought it's been pretty powerful. I'm actually going to read it again.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Ryan, thank you. Folks, this is Leadership Dialogues at the Iacocca Institute with Dr. Ryan Grant, founder and CEO of Vori Health. Thank you for your tuning in.